Certain Islamic scholars draw a connection between Matthew 12 verses 39 to 40 in the Bible and Surah 4 verse 157 in the Quran. They contend that the crucifixion of Jesus presents a paradox, as his sign or miracle would parallel that of Jonah, who did not perish in the sea. What is the framework of their argument? The connection between Matthew 12 verses 39 to 40 in the Bible and Surah 4 verse 157 primarily revolves around the interpretation of significant events in the lives of Jesus and the prophet Jonah. This includes the crucifixion of Jesus and Jonah's experience in the belly of the fish. Here's a breakdown of the argument. Biblical context, Matthew 12 verses 39 to 40. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus responds to a request for a sign by referring to the story of Jonah. But he answered and said to them, "An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." In this context, Jesus had predicted that his miraculous event would resemble that of Jonah. According to the book of Jonah, Jonah was alive at a time when all presumed he was dead. Similarly, while many anticipated Jesus to be deceased, the reality is that he is indeed alive. Quranic context, Surah 4 verse 157. In Surah 4 verse 157, the Quran discusses how Jesus was not killed or crucified, and for their saying, "Indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, and they did not kill him nor crucify him. But so it was made to appear to them, and indeed those who differ over it are in doubt. They have no knowledge of it except the following of assumption, and they did not kill him for certain." In this context, the Quran asserts that Jesus was not killed or crucified, countering the Christian belief in the crucifixion and resurrection. It suggests that God intervened to protect Jesus from a fate of crucifixion and death. Framework of the argument. 1. Paradox of death and resurrection. Islamic scholars argue that the account of Jonah illustrates a theme of deliverance from death. If the crucifixion of Jesus was a true event resulting in his death, it seems to contradict the sign that Jesus asserted. By likening himself to Jonah, however, Jesus suggests that he would also evade death. Just as Jonah spent 3 days in the sea, Jesus implies he also return after a short period, which might create the impression that he has died. 2. Miraculous rescues. Both accounts emphasize miraculous rescues, Jonah from the fish and Jesus from death. This perspective strengthens a fundamental Islamic tenet regarding the integrity of prophets and divine safeguarding. 3. Differing theological implications. The scholars argue that these narratives illustrate differing theological perspectives on sin and sacrificial atonement. For Christians, the crucifixion and resurrection form the cornerstone of redemption. Conversely, Islamic theology highlights God's safeguarding of prophets and the prevention of their unjust deaths, leading to an alternative interpretation of Jesus' role. 4. Misinterpretation and faith. They often conclude that the misunderstanding of these narratives lies in the interpretation of faith and divine will. For them, the erroneous belief in the crucifixion leads to doctrinal inconsistencies that contrast sharply with Islamic teachings of Jesus as a revered prophet. In summary, the interplay between Matthew 12 verses 39 to 40 and Surah 4 verse 157 reveals significant theological differences regarding the nature of Jesus, the significance of his life, and the understanding of miraculous occurrences that influence both Christian and Islamic perspectives.